that's uh that's what makes it so much more absorbable for me is that it's a format that you can listen to while you're working out. If you want to watch like the actual video, you can watch the video, you can listen to it. It's the whoever came up with the actual, like, really started playing with the idea, they really don't understand that they had lightning in a bottle, because it's just so much easier to absorb, because now people, or I feel like people are less likely to read,
Mm,
but they'll listen to an audio book, you
yeah,
know. So
sure.
um so yeah, we were like wrestling with that stupid baby seat for what was supposed to be like a 10-20 minute project, turned in like 2.5 hours, and I'm just sitting there like, well, I don't understand. I mean, because I had set up, it's the exact same model baby seat that's in Jill's car, so I knew exactly what I had to do. Just unclip the things, hook, rear end facing, boom, like that, boom, it slides up on there, and when you pull the strap, it braces it, and it when you pull it, it should, draw it into the car seat. Boom, no movement, very little movement. But man, once we got done, it was boom all over the place, and I'm like, good lord. And so we had to watch the stupid video 3 or 4 times, and like, I know exactly how it's supposed to go. It's like, are you sure it's supposed to? There's only one pull strap on this stupid thing. And so, 2.5 hours later, the big man, my son, I call him the big man because he is big. He is. Have you seen a recent picture of him?
I don't think so, man. I don't think so.
I
Is
love
he
every.
hulking out on you, man?
Oh my! No, his nickname. My nickname for him is the fullback. He's a thick boy. He's a big boy.
Okay.
Big boy. Jennifer's comment when because she saw him like when he was born, but she hadn't seen him in about 3 to 4 months. And so when she finally did see him now recently, what she said is in our group chat was, Bishop is huge.
Oh, man, that's a good thing. Yeah,
Yeah, no, he's healthy. He loves to eat. I love it.
man. I tell you what, though, that that might fall off of it pretty quick when he gets older.
Yeah, it
Starting
will,
to see her
because
size.
Evie was a little. She wasn't big, but she was, you know. But when he starts growing out, he'll probably thin out, and then the puberty years kick in, and if he ends up becoming, Bob was a quarterback in high
Okay.
school. Yeah, so he's got some star power. He's got some athletic power built into the genes.
There he is. He's got some precursors there that are DNA, as they say, right?
he's
The
he's a
DNA.
little plump. He's a little butterball.
I tell you, a lot of times with kids like that, they just grow up to be pretty
Yeah,
big, man. So
yeah. Well,
might have a
Bob's like
handful there.
6 foot something. He isn't Bob probably in the 6 foot range.
I mean, he's taller than me.
He's
I
taller
feel
than
like
you.
he's taller than me. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Okay. So assuming that he doesn't inherit my genes or Jill's genes, and has it gets passed down from the grandfather era, then we could be looking, the fullback could be,
Telling him, middle
or the
linebacker,
tight end. Hey, middle
middle linebacker.
linebacker, anything, you know.
Be making pancakes behind the line of scrimmage, if he's middle
Yeah.
linebacker. Everybody
Yeah.
loves pancakes.
Yeah. I do. I know I do. I know I do. I mean, yeah, I love that boy, because he's got just the, like, Evie was always just happy, but he's like happy, like always smile, always laughing about something. Now, when he gets upset, he's upset, but
Right.
but probably 9 times out of 10, he's a happy baby.
Man, you got lucky. So I only had one kid, but my brother, he was 7 years younger than me.
Yeah.
And all he did was he was colicky. He had cradle cap.
Wow.
So he was kind of like it kind of looked like sometimes like Smeagol off Lord of the Rings. I swear. So he was all veiny too. Like he was a little bitty shrimp,
Oh,
man. And
oh.
he was always fussing, and like compared to me, I was the quiet baby. I never cried. I didn't
Yeah.
have care in the world,
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You got lucky from what I understand, because usually they say the first kid's a trap, and then
Yeah.
then the second one they're the one that give you the run for their money. Luckily, I don't
They
think I'm gonna work out a second one, but
first couple months it was hard getting him to go to sleep, but he finally did. And they also say that depending upon your age and when you have your kids, that if you have a girl, that the odds of you having a girl the second time are pretty high. Like if you start with a girl, you're more likely to have a girl on that second child.
yes,
So
sir.
we just lucked out and had a boy, so I got one of each. So
We'll see. We'll see if you're
we
lucky. Don't
we
say it
we
yet. You got a few years.
we jokingly say that we may have go for number three, and so I was very happy and content with two, but I wouldn't mind having one more, man.
Man, that's awesome, man. I think that'd
Yeah,
be great.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's your fan.
Lose even more hair, you know.
Hey, you don't need hair. You don't need it.
Yeah, I don't
It's
I
fine.
don't need it.
You
Yeah,
don't need it.
I was already bald headed as a baby, so might as well just end it all bald headed as an old man, you know.
There you go. Don't leave nothing behind, man. Put it all
Nope.
out.
Yep. It's all gonna be out there. But yeah, it's I always hope to have a family, always hope to be married, and I'm definitely one of the most blessed and luckiest guys there is. I've got a family, I've got a wife, I've got a roof over my head, you know, had a job that I've had it for 16 years with the same company, now doing a different job, but nonetheless, uh, I've got like a full circle moment 16 years ago. I closed my first refinance loan, mortgage loan with Countrywide Full Spectrum Lending. And here I am 16 years later doing my first loan, closing it in on Monday. It's a purchase. And when I talked with the processor and said, hey, had a last minute concern or whatnot, she's like, no, it's good. I'm like, so wait. So if you ever hear in the mortgage industry this phrase, or mortgage industry, because it applies to real estate agents too, clear to close. When you hear that
Mm.
phrase, man, that's the best phrase that you can hear, because that means everything's good, everything's going to be sealed, and it took everything in my power not to be bawling like a baby, because it's coming full circle, man. It's coming back 16 years later. It's awesome.
Man,
So,
you sound happy,
oh yeah,
and you're blessed, but it's certainly not, I would say that you've earned it. You're a good man. And you've
yeah,
worked hard to
I've,
be that man, and
yeah,
you've done well, man.
yeah.
I don't know where I'd be without you. You certainly made
Well,
me a better, and I appreciate that, man. But you've earned this, dude, and I want you to know that. So,
thank you. Thank you.
yeah, man.
Everything that I have, it's it's because of God, and it's because of good friends, good parents, hard work,
Yeah, man.
and just eventually stop being a knucklehead and start doing it the right way.
Like I said, like we were discussing earlier, sometimes the hard way is the only way for a few people.
Yeah.
I got to take a few hits before I go. Oh, I probably shouldn't do that anymore. That's not
Yeah. And that,
so.
in life, that's the hard part for people to absorb, you know, the part where you have to look at it when these bad things keep happening over and over and over again. The only person that's the common denominator is yourself. So it's a very hard question and hard conversation to have with yourself. Well, is it me? And sometimes, not all the times, the answer is yes, it's you.
It
And
was
then,
in my case, I completely agree. In my
yeah,
case, I think it has been me. And I had that moment of clarity. I think that was probably what I said to you. The common denominator was me, and all the situations I've been through.
yeah,
Um, uh, Continuing to be the victim. I understand certain things happen to people.
right,
And there's a lot of circumstances that are out of your control. But
right,
what I mean by taking accountability and responsibility is like, maybe you didn't get the outcome you wanted. Maybe you wanted something more. By taking accountability, it doesn't mean, beating yourself up when things don't go your way every
right,
time. It certainly does mean sitting down and going, what could have I done better? You know,
Yeah.
what could have improved the outcome and got it closer to what I wanted?
Right.
And so
Right.
it's not just about beating yourself up, and I think I had
Yeah.
that like in the past 6 months because I'm still kind of, I guess it's been a growing progress, man. And the way I look at it is, you're never too old to learn. You're never
No.
too old to
No.
change. And
No.
as long as I'm doing that, then um, I've got a lot going on, and I've got something to keep going for. And you always improve. You always try to be better than you were yesterday.
And I
It's the
think
only person you should be better than. That's it.
and I think the best measurable way to make sure you don't really make that mistake again. It sounds crazy to do it for most people, but in a previous conversation, I genuinely believe that this is true. Writing stuff out is really it's a secret sauce. It's a superpower. It's something supernatural, and it goes back to, it's even in the Holy Bible, the word was made flesh. So writing it down, the words, you're making it flesh, you're making it real, you're bringing it into reality,
Yeah.
manifesting it, whatever you want to call it. It's something special. If you can go back, take a look at a scenario and write down, like, hey, did I do this wrong? What did I do wrong, and write it out. And then
Yeah.
you look at it, and you can look at it, you can really look at it and say, well, I should have shown up to work on time. I
Yeah.
should have done exactly what they asked me to do. I should have, you know, those three key things that we talked about that one time. And one of the things to kind of add to that is that attitude, having that right attitude of not, kind of insulating yourself in a way that you present yourself as the person that got a great attitude, that will get the job done, and making it pleasing to other people, because we're in a work environment. It's very easy for things to get negative and toxic and all that. But if you're the one that's the light and the salt that's making a difference, people gravitate towards that.
Yeah.
And so the burden is you start taking on their burdens and their problems and all that. And depending upon your emotional makeup, that's why we're not meant to be alone. We're better together, because we cast our cares upon the Lord, but we cast our cares upon each other. And that's where real healing goes in, because you don't realize this, but you're taking on their emotional wounds. And so you don't realize that you're taking them on until you've actually took them on. And so sometimes you have to measure it out. That's why Jesus had to go and spend time alone, because if you got all those people putting all their problems on you, I
Yeah.
mean, it's exhausting.
It is, man. And I'm pretty bad about feeding into that whole that whole thing. And it took me years to figure this out, but I would get mad or upset about something, and it's okay to have empathy for somebody. It's okay to understand what they're going through or feel what they're going through. But when it causes you emotional duress, then it's hard to give them compassion and help.
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
then now you're in duress. Now you're having emotional issues because of their emotional issues if you're not careful. So,
Yeah.
it's a healthy balance of being able to understand what somebody's going through and being helpful within
Right.
your means and not
Right.
overextend yourself, and
Right.
knowing where to go. Okay, I've done all I can. I can help more, but I need to unplug. I need to get
I
back to
need
what
my
I need.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's
And
really, it's a hard balance. It really is.
it really is. And that's why I respect and deeply admire people that are any type of profession that involves any type of counseling, whether it's a
Yeah.
psychiatrist, psychologist, preacher, pastor, whatever, because they are taking on the burdens of everybody else. So, if we as selfish creatures don't think about the fact that, oh, wait, who takes care of them?
Man, now that you brought that up, I wonder how many people in those fields, just want to reach across and go, just strangle them. What are you doing? I'm absolutely certain I've been that guy. I've been that patient, or I've been that
Yeah,
kid in the counselor's
yeah,
office, or
yeah,
talking to the pastor.
yeah,
I know for a fact I'm that guy. I'm
yeah,
that was me, and
yeah,
probably still me is me sometimes.
yeah. Right,
Um,
right.
but that's interesting. I mean, that's really thought provoking. I've never looked at it that way. To sit
Well,
there and have people just unload
yeah,
their baggage on you, and
yeah.
to be I thought I wouldn't mind being a counselor, but now after your statement there, I have no desire to do that. Like,
Well, it takes us a very special gifting for sure, for sure.
oh
And I
yes.
think I think at the end of the day too, if it's it's a love. If your love is strong enough for it, you will
Hmm.
endure anything and everything. And so
Right.
the money comes after the love, even though you got to be sensible when it comes to that kind of stuff. But ultimately, at the end of the day, there is a show that HBO did years ago. It was called In Treatment. It was with Gabriel Byrne as a psychiatrist, and he has his own psychiatrist. It was years
Hmm.
ago. It was a pretty good show, and so it was showed the psychiatrist going to a psychiatrist. So and
Hmm.
they're and the thing is like when you're skilled in a profession and you go to get help from somebody like a nurse getting help from a doctor, you know
Hmm.
you handicap yourself because you know too much,
Yeah.
so a psychiatrist going to see a psychiatrist about their issues, you have to, as the one treating the psychiatrist, you have to be ready to recognize, oh, he's trying to put a move on me instead of
Right.
just
Right.
being the patient, and
Yeah.
that's the thing that you got to remember is for people are that go into treatment, it's for you. So
Hmm.
you have to get beyond the place where you're trying to people please and under be drop the veils down, be yourself, because they're trying to help you excavate out whatever is wrong. So when you
Yep.
feel like you're going to people please, that's when you've got to be honest and like, hey, I didn't want to tell you this because of this and this and this. So it's a heavy burden, and I think for the most part, speaking from experience, that our church does a good job with its small groups of letting people be themselves.
Hmm.
You know, those especially in a freedom group where you're unloading some heavy stuff. And people just again that to me is amazing because it's like therapy, but these guys aren't trained therapists. They're not counselors. They're not all that. They just bought into the idea of love people. So let them, pray for them, love them, and over time there's these powerful transformations that happen. The Freedom Conference is a man that is one of the I'm so thankful that I'm pretty sure it was me first that I was able to go to Freedom, and then Dad went to the Freedom Conference afterwards too. And that's one of the things I brought up to Jill. This is the only thing I ask you to do. I don't care about any of the small groups. I don't care if you lead with me. I don't care if you create your own. I just want you to experience this for yourself. And everything is built up towards the conference just so that she could, and I know eventually we'll get to the place where she tries it, but it's amazing to see what the church as a whole has done for people. And uh I just feel like the human experience is just so interesting and fascinating. If you step outside of yourself and look at humanity as a whole and how weird we are, how we can sit here and have this serious conversation and yet on in a completely different level be just base and degenerate and wild as can be. Humanity is weird, man. It's so weird. We can create the craziest things and yet
I
at the
think it
same
was
time do horrible things.
who was it? It was said an interview. I think it was by George Carlin that I thought was really fascinating, and he
Uh
was like, he goes, when you get a bunch of people together, a group of people, they're pretty nasty, rude, and ugly. He said, when you get an individual by themselves, they're beautiful. They're beautiful people. You get to know the inside of somebody.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, when I went to Freedom, man, and I'll tell you just in general, sometimes the best therapy I've ever had is knowing that I have a friend or a person in my life that has endured the same pain that I have, and then yet they keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'm not alone now, and that's my
Yeah.
feeling. I'm not alone. If he can do it and he's going, I've got to. I got to try. I got to keep going.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that for me, that's probably the single most helpful thing I've ever found out. When a friend confides in me, I think I'm pretty sure you've done this before, where you kind of let the veil down and you're like, hey man, I can relate. And when especially it means so much when you got a close friend that you respect, because you see them hanging in there. They're getting up. They're going to work every day. They're fighting the good fight. Close to God, and like it's just pretty moving and it's inspirational. You know, and that right there alone, probably the single best. And Lord, I've seen counselors. My first time I saw a counselor was the guidance counselor at school. And I
Yeah.
was a good student. I was a good kid. I was starting to lash out because home was just not a good place for me.
Right.
Um, and then I grow up and I'm 30 years old. I'm meeting guys I've known for years, and I never was around them much. And I find out they had a similar home life as me, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like they're in there, they're going for it. They're knuckling down. And it's that right there is probably the most inspiration that I've ever had in my life. And I'm like, okay, if they can hold together and not make excuses, and it's cool to see the more of these guys that I've discovered in my circle of friends and that I've met over the years. These are the guys that they're good fathers, and they're doing the right thing and they're trying to be good people, and it's like they're trying to do full circle, kind of like what my dream was all along, was to be the best father I can be, you know. Try not to take those generational curses and just keep passing them down the pipe, passing it on, and to me, it's when you see a friend or somebody you care about and admire and respect, and they can relate to you and they're not doing that, it's all the more reason. Like, you're not alone.
Right.
Know that
Right.
there's other people out there just like you, millions of people every day, but yet sometimes you have to be reminded. Sometimes you get a little flash of lights. You get to see somebody you're close to, and you get to see a glimpse. Well, they're they're similar to me, and they're doing it. So I can do it too. You
Right.
know, and
And
even if go ahead, I'm
yeah.
sorry,
Well, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
and even if I'm not the 100% do it perfect,
Mm-hmm.
whatever effort that I can put forth on that path, then that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and it's a job that's never going to be completed until, I go home.
Yeah.
When
That's
I
right.
leave, like this is an everyday thing.
Yeah.
It's not a weekend dad thing. It's not a Tuesday night thing. It's not a Sunday morning thing. This is life. This is my commitment to myself and my daughter and my friends and the guys who have inspired me. This is my way of saying I see you, and you're not
Right.
alone too. Because I'm going to go right there with you. We can do it. We can do it together. You
Yeah.
know, uh,
Right.
like the freedom. The freedom was, when I went to Chad's Freedom, man, it was like, I mean, you were there too, it just seemed like it started off kind of normal. And then like everybody just kind of came out, like everybody just, they let it go. Like
Yeah.
it was uh, if that isn't freedom, there's no such thing. I mean,
Yeah.
because
That's
I
what
think
freedom is. You got to
at
let it
the
be
end
able
of that,
being able to let it go. Yeah.
we let a lot of things go in that room. And a lot of
Yeah.
guys opened up. And
Yeah.
I can tell you when I left that night, um, I felt like a weight had been lifted off me. There was because again, I think it kind of connects back to what I'm saying. There's other guys out there that are right there with you. They're fighting the good fight with you. We all got demons, man. We've all got, our flaws. Nobody's certainly ever going to be perfect. We've got our vices. But you find out, that some people got it worse than you. And you also find out that, you kind of did some things, but you find out you're not that bad. Like, you find out that there's all sorts of people dealing with all sorts of things, and it's okay. We're all dealing with it together,
Right.
and
Right.
that's huge, man. To me, that's the best therapy you can have is seeing somebody fighting the good fight, and trying to better themselves, especially if they've got similar things in their past and in their upbringing and their day-to-day life that you experience firsthand. It's deep. It's really deep,
I
And
agree.
and it ends up being that's powerful motivation too.
It is.
It
It is,
really is.
man. And so, something that you touched on that everybody needs to kind of remember, because we live in a fallen life, fallen
Mm-hmm.
world. From the moment you're born, doesn't matter, male, female, uh, as long as you're human, life is a fight. Even
Yeah,
for all of any creature, any creation on this planet, life is a fight, and it is
yeah,
going to be a fight. Uh, and that's what everybody loves. Everybody loves a comeback story. Everybody loves an underdog story. Why is that? They love it because it resonates with them because they've been through pain.
mm-hmm.
You even if you have the most privileged life there can be, because there is death, because there is sickness, because there is pain, you're going to see it. You cannot avoid it. Siddhartha Gautama, who would one day become the Buddha, he grew up when he was born to be a very special being. And so his father, the king,
Mm-hmm.
Siddhartha, I can't even say it, pronounce it right,
Mm-hmm.
wanted to insulate his son. If I remember correctly from studying it, he had palaces for each of the four seasons. So he insulated his son from seeing the the realities of life. One day you're gonna get sick. One day you're gonna grow old. One day you're gonna die. He
Mm-hmm.
insulated his son, and then but by chance that was not his meant to be his destiny to be the next king of the world. He was meant to be an enlightened being, an enlightened one to bring truth into the world. Keanu Reeves, ironically, or maybe not so ironically, because he is part Asian, he went
Mm-hmm.
on to play the Buddha in this movie called Little Buddha. It was made in the early '90s. Great movie
Mm-hmm.
for people that are just they've heard of Buddhism, but they've never really took the time to really. It's a very kind of loose interpretation, but for me, I found it very fascinating watching it as a teenager, and just it has two stories interwoven in between. So one story is the story of Buddha and how he became Buddha. The second story, which is happening in real time, Chris Isaac actually plays the role of the father. They're trying to find the reincarnation of this Lama, and not the Dalai Lama, but a Lama. So this guy comes, this monk comes, and he finds three candidates of the reincarnation of his teacher. And so it's just a great, wonderful story because at somewhere in the movie, probably midway towards the end, he's sitting there and Chris Isaac's playing the dad and the boy. Jesse is the character's name. And he's just, you see this backdrop. I think it's set in Tibet, maybe. But you see this backdrop, beautiful backdrop, and it's at nighttime. And there's uh, little lights all over the place. And the monk, he looks out into the space and he said, "You see all these people? 100, 200 years from now, all these people will be dead."
Mm-hmm.
And So if you hear that and you hear that for the first time, it's like, ugh, that is so morbid. But all he's doing, and he said it so peacefully, so calmly. What he's saying is the truth. 100, 200 years from now, we are going to be dead. We're not meant to live forever, as exampled by all those that have passed on before us. But what endures beyond this life is our legacy, the breaking of generational curses, your children's children's children, what you think of as true generational wealth, which is, salvation, eternity, those things, those lessons that you teach them, being able to have a house that's completely paid for, that you can say, hey, this is a house. This is my house that I bought and I paid off, no mortgage on it. Warranty deed has my name on it, and I'm putting you onto the warranty deed too, so that it is yours. Because the one thing that I would never want to have happen is for my children to not have a roof over their head. That is the one thing that I want to have control over. One tangible physical thing. So, that's why they call home ownership generational wealth, because the only thing you have to do, even though you don't truly own it because you got to pay your property taxes. But I mean, hell, property taxes here in Alabama annually, 2,000. Okay, you can scratch together $2,000 to pay for property taxes. So, again, that's just something that people don't understand when they have a mortgage and everything is quote unquote in escrow. That's what it's doing. It's paying for the property taxes, but that's part of education. That's part of. Yes, I agree. Financial education is not in schools, or it is to small degree. But again, even though it isn't in schools, that's what to your point about having good friends, having good family, somebody's going to teach you that stuff. They're going to show you that stuff. Yeah. Now, if you don't want to learn it, that's fine. That's on you. But if you're willing to learn it, you've got something that you can just pass on. Like this episode is going to last for as long as it can last, because I love being alive in this age, in this generation, because if I were to try to write out all the things, all the Word documents, all that stuff, they'd be piled up all over this room, man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The information we can store everywhere is just crazy. It's great.
It is, man. It's wild. I always think about what you said, leaving that legacy behind. And I've always been fascinated with Buddhism because of the way that ego is talked about. The way that the view, the view on ego. I get that is huge to me, and I think in some ways I've tried to adopt that. Because egos are heavy.
Oh yeah,
egos are heavy, man. They're heavy. Yeah. Life's a lot easier when you can put that ego down. Life's easier because life is suffering. Life is hard.
It's hard to put the ego
hard,
down.
Man. And
hard
a lot of people, it's hard to it's easy to get lost in the moment. Look at somebody and go, oh man, they got it made. But you really don't know. Man, he might have a nice car and a hot chick with him, but that car could be a rental.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right. And that hot chick probably doesn't even like him.
Yeah, that might be his sister-in-law. He's got to take to
or could
the
be
doctor that he hates. Yeah. You don't know that. It's a nice car, man, but you don't know what's going on there. What are you mad for? Chill out, dog. Just worry about you. That's a waste of time.
It's funny that you say that, because there is it makes me think of a picture of a friend of mine I know very well, and I'm actually really good friends with his dad too, and there's a picture of him with these poor beautiful ladies, and so you would assume like, oh man, those are his sisters.
The dream,
No, those are his sisters. That's his sisters. That's him with his sisters in the picture. Like, you had nasty people. But on the surface, if you're just looking at it, without knowing, you wouldn't know that was his sisters. But
It's
that's exactly what it is. Yeah,
and I guess that leads to my next epiphany. Context is very important.
absolutely.
Context is context is very defining, and without context, you don't know what you're really looking at. You know
No,
what I
you
mean?
have you have no clue. You have
So
no clue.
that's
You're making
oh,
this innocent assumption
mm,
of a thing. In fact, there's this video I think I saw. It's like a black and white video. I'm not sure if it's an old video, but they made it look old. Where you see this guy, taxi pulls up. This guy comes running, and you see him like turn a corner, and it's a frame by frame shot, and you see him
mm,
running, and then you see him running towards this guy, like, oh, he's gonna mug him.
right.
Well, about towards the end of the video, you see that he's running towards the guy because he's pushing him out of the way because something was about to fall on top of him.
Yeah,
But from perspective, it looked like he was trying to mug him. But
yeah.
again, you don't know perspective until you zoom all the way out.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, man, the context is it's funny, if you look at how people act online, how we can take a 5-second video, we're ready to, uh, you know, dox whoever was in the video. We don't have
Yeah,
what
yeah,
happened approximately 25 to 30 seconds before that exchange there.
right,
That's
right.
the
And
real question.
that's right.
Um,
That's right.
it's people get so angry like that. I think that's a huge problem. Personally, as I get older, and I don't know if I'm just boomering out, man, but I'm starting to think the internet may be somewhat of an issue. Just considering uh, I say some of the illicit things that are on the internet. Um, I think it's kind of too much for society to handle right now.
I would
I'll
say that to some extent,
yeah,
except for the fact that it's again, it goes back to responsibility and accountability. You have to have a good group of people. You have to be able to have the maturity to go to first of all, very first of all, know yourself and think for yourself.
mm,
And so if you know yourself and think for yourself, then you can be a little bit more middle in hearing from the left and the right and the up and the down, and you
I
can
agree.
hear it better. But it's also having this the holy spiritual wisdom of being able to discern this is worth listening to or this is not worth listening to.
I agree,
So
man. That's
um
huge, especially the
like for
community
example,
comment. I think
if
that's
somebody were to hit you with a piece of scripture saying, oh, blah 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 blah, well, you don't let that piece of scripture define the situation. You read a couple chapters before, you
mm,
read a couple chapters after to get the context. Same thing with somebody saying something out that you just said, oh, James said this. It's like, okay, he said this, but I've known James for years. What happened? Give me the context. Don't just let me see what happened before. I mean, I know
yeah.
what happened after.
What
You're obviously
happened?
upset with him, but what led to this? Was he having a
Yeah.
bad day? Was he,
Mm,
what was going on? Like, I know James. He's not gonna lie to me. I'm gonna find out from
right.
him what happened, and then
Mm,
also too, he's probably gonna want to have a conversation with you to because this is for his first time hearing about it. He wants. I know him. He's gonna want to know, why you interpreted it that way. Let's all
mm.
sit down and have a conversation and find out. This is how he saw it. This is how you saw it, and me as the intermediary, this is this is what I believe. This is what caused this to happen this way. Can we come back into agreement on it? Yes or no? Like the opening scene in Wedding Crashers, you know, the opening scene in Wedding Crashers is mediation at
Love
its
that movie.
finest.
I can
It's
quote that
mediation at its
movie.
finest. That's
I
mediation
could
at its
quote
finest.
that movie for your entire podcast.
Yeah, yeah. That's mediation at its finest. Is
Oh yeah,
she wants this, he wants this, and that's, I mean, that's it in a nutshell.
yeah. That's God, I love that movie.
I know.
You mentioned. I'll tell you another thing. You were dead on about this. Community. I think a lot of people have substituted community as in person because communities Um, there certainly exist online, and don't get me wrong, I'm a part of a few communities,
Yeah.
but the community that I absolutely have to have are my friends that I can shake hands with and that
Right.
can look in the eye and go, Blake,
Right.
I love you, buddy, but that idea is crazy. You don't
Yeah.
need to do that,
Yeah.
like that human interaction of having
Right.
those friends in your life that not only tell you when you're acting crazy, but bring up things where you might have said that, okay, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And 2 or 3 months go by and there's crickets.
Right.
And they call, hey, buddy, remember that time when you said you were
You
going
do
to do
that
this?
thing. Yeah.
What happened? Are you just giving up? And a great example of this was back when I was working for the Board of Education. I was 19. I was 19. No, I was 20 years old. It was like the first of the year, and I was hanging out with a couple of guys that would go. Um, I'd hang out with a couple of groups. So I'd go and hang out in Auburn
Yep.
with friends. I hung out with Hunter. Wade. Your old roommates.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, And what I kept, I'm going to do this soon, guys. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to do this. And God, who was it? It was Jim Hill. Jim Hill is a good friend. And I don't know. Did you meet Jim? Because he hung out with Hunter and Wade.
No. No, I don't think so. Doesn't sound
Jim.
familiar.
So Jim was around when I lived with him before I graduated. Like I moved out, and he was where I lived when I graduated high school.
Right.
So his mama took me in, and him and his mama were, I'd say, pretty truthful, and I needed to hear the truth. I really
Yes.
did. Like
Yes.
his mom. We call her Mo. Even he calls her Mo. We called her Mo. Mo. One night I'm over there, and and she's like, Blake. So what are you going to do? You can't. I know you don't live at home. I know you haven't graduated. I know you're 17, but what are you going to do? Oh, I don't know. Life's just so hard. And she literally looks at me and goes, "You want some cheese with that wine?" And at first, I was upset. She says, "Blake, I know I love I love you. You're always welcome here, and I know you're a good kid. But I'm gonna be honest with you. Nobody cares. You're gonna have to get up and you're gonna have to go out there and do it. It doesn't matter if you're 16, 15, 22. Life doesn't care. You got to get up and do it. You know."
And it I can see how receiving that at a young age, you would think, man, that's really being mean and really being hard. I don't like that. But it's
I needed
a
it.
it's
I
a
needed it.
truth. It's a truth. It's a truth. And that
So
truth is
so
sometimes is uncomfortable.
coming from the background that I was raised in, because emotional support simply wasn't something that I was given. And
Right.
so and this, there's times, especially, probably in the better half of 8 years ago, when something would happen,
Hmm.
I would absolutely freak, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was no rational thought, and I still do it. And I'll be honest, I still do it.
Yeah.
But I've learned now, sit down and shut up for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Let it simmer. Let all the things let the pot kind of simmer down. It just happened. It's boiling over,
Yeah.
but sit down. Okay. Figure out what you got to do right now to get yourself together. Then figure
Right.
out what you got to do this afternoon to get yourself together. And then figure out what you need to do by tomorrow and just
Right.
work off that. And if
And
you
also
have to,
to give yourself the grace to melt down.
yes. So that initial thing, that impact, yeah, that first 5 to 10. And if you need 20, take 20. If you need 45, take 45. But
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
would tell anybody, don't reach out to anybody in that first 20 minutes. Let it
Yeah.
hurt. Let it fester up. Let it come out. Lose your shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lose it. But
Yeah.
sit down after you've let it come out, because you've got to respond. You've got to have emotional response. Your emotions are your emotions. You've got to let them out. You can't hold them in. It's toxic. But after that, if you have to get angry, because a lot of times I'd have to get plumb mad to get
Yeah.
motivated to get things done. Tap into whatever it is. If it's love, watch a Disney movie and go out there and get back in the fight. But whatever it
Yeah.
is you need to motivate you to get you out of that rut, to keep your head in the game, to get you through that tough time,
Right.
utilize it. I would
Right.
certainly suggest not utilizing anger because it's something I'm trying to get away from because
Yeah.
anger just kind of it trickles into anything else. And
Well,
it's
anger is in my point of view, it's like death. It's a weapon, and it's a dangerous weapon. It
yeah,
will. There is such a thing as righteous anger. There is such a thing as righteous anger. You know, there is
oh
a
yeah,
situation in which you have every right to be angry and upset. But again, it's a loaded gun. It's a sword. It's dynamite. It's a weapon. And so, in the wrong hands of somebody that's 16 years old, it could have a consequence that they could never go back from.
yeah,
But in the hands of you know a mature 42-year-old who is seeing that their child is being harmed,
yeah,
then again, it's these types of things when it comes to how to properly emotionally handle situations when there's meltdowns. It's harder when you're in your early 20s. When you have a little bit of life on you, you've been beat up a few times, you kind of learn, you got enough scars and battle wounds to be able to be like, my muscles have been torn enough that they've kind of healed and re-strengthened enough. That's why human body is amazing. That's how you get stronger muscles, is by tearing the muscles and the healing
mhm.
and strengthening. I mean, that's what we do to ourselves emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. I mean, that's just how humans are built.
I can certainly tell you from experience, any situation that I've ran into without having my cool, I usually made it 100 times worse.
Yeah,
Whether it
me
be
too.
anger,
Yep.
wrath, being upset about something,
Yep.
I my initial reaction, if I'm not trying to find a way to ground myself before I decide what the next step is, it's usually complete destruction. I'm
Yeah.
going to make it 10 times
Well,
worse.
it's that Viking blood in you, man. You want to
Yeah,
grab the good old horn and grab
I
Thor's
mean,
hammer, and you just wanted
and
to go to town and destroy everything.
there's certainly nothing wrong with grabbing Thor's hammer, but swinging wildly and not paying attention to what you're swinging it at, and wasting all your resources, your physical
Yeah.
strength, swinging at air and not hitting anything. I certainly tell you that Viking didn't get anywhere. He didn't make it off the battlefield.
That's right.
But the Viking that
Sure.
kept his cool and made sure that he was striking true and he was hitting something and he was defending himself,
Right.
that Viking, he probably became a king and he got to retire and ride on the
Right.
boat that catched on fire, and had the halls of Valhalla. But the
Yeah.
first Viking, I guarantee you, nobody knew who he was because he didn't make it.
Well, think about it this way. Think about it this way. And this is actually a really good thing to keep in mind because it's a great analogy for focus. So you've got an axe, very sharp axe, and your task is to cut down wood because you need wood to create, firewood, build your fire to cook the meat. So you can't eat it
Mhm.
raw because it'll make you sick, whatnot. So if you take your axe, you're in a forest, and you go to cut down a tree, well, you're going to do really well. Problem is, if you get distracted and go start cutting down another tree, and then you get distracted and go start cutting down another tree, you need to stay
Mhm.
focused with your axe and cut down the tree that you started on. That's how you make your firewood. And so in life, if you have something that you want to, and it's hard for people that if you've got mental barriers, mental things that you need help with, it's hard. I understand that. But you just have to, whatever it takes. If you have to write it down 15 times, do it 15 times, do it whatever it takes to make sure that if you have a task, focus on that task and do it and get it done. Because what I've found is was really made me really good at what I do is being able to remember and recall. Just remember and recall, and redo it. Like, I remember stuff, but I don't forget to do it. I don't let myself forget to do it. Like, if I
And
remember you, I'm going to remember to do that task with you. My recall is really good, and that's what's kind of set me apart after all these years in the professional world. It's not that I'm smarter than everybody else. I am not. I just remember and I recall, and I remember things and I recall it and I keep doing it until it's done. And
yeah,
that's how you set yourself apart from everybody else. That's a superpower.
it really is, because I'm the type of guy that'll make a drink for myself and then go sit down and leave the drink in the kitchen.
Right.
It's like,
Right. Right.
what?
You
And I got to
finish
go
it.
back, and I'll
Yeah.
go back for the drink and forget it and sit back down again. Like
Right.
I've done that. My daughter's like, she says, "Daddy, there goes that." So we call it my brain the chicken, because the
Yeah.
chicken will just take off and go for it.
Right.
And so she's like, she'll look at it, she's, "Daddy, what? There goes that chicken." She'll ask me to do something. I'll get up and I will go do it, and I won't, like, she'll say, "I'm hungry," or something. So I'll make her something to eat, because that's my baby, and I'll make her something to eat, and I'll have it on the stove, I'll have it on the plate, and I'll just walk by.
Yeah.
just just every yeah. So I'm horrible about that. I
Yeah.
try to work on that, but I certainly, I will say, the mental barriers is probably just being human sometimes.
Yeah. It is. It
It's
is.
just and
It
I'm
is.
bad about thinking like 20 moves ahead instead of
Right.
staying focused on the task
Yeah.
at hand. I
Yeah.
overwhelm myself going
Yeah.
too far ahead,
Yeah.
instead of
I
just
met
going, okay, I need to get through the next hour. The hell
right.
with what's going on, next week.
Right.
Just get through the next hour.
I mental
Uh,
chess myself all the time, and
mm,
think about what people are going to say 15 moves ahead, and it's more of a defensive mechanism for myself. But I know that sometimes I just need to, especially if people I trust, I just need to throw it out there. Even if I think they're going to say this, about 9 times out of 10, they don't say what I think they're going to say. So,
yeah,
and that's what having somebody that you can really trust and hopefully love. Uh, that's the goal, to have that one person in your life that you can, regardless of knowing yourself and saying, "Well, I'm going to mental chess my way out of this," or they're going to say this, just knowing that you're safe to say it, and who knows, they may surprise you and say something completely different. So, and again, that's safety. That's a safety thing. And if you
yeah,
grow up in environments where you don't have safety, you're just going to naturally, you know, kind of do things because there's so much pent up scars, trauma, whatever you want to call it, that makes you feel like, I just can't, I got to be on high alert all the time. Versus
yeah,
when you have that one person, that's right, you have that peace.
yeah.
It's not going to be the right person. Just, I think you're going to have your hormones and they make me feel great and all that, but ultimately, the more time you have with them, they're going to give you more and more safety and peace. That's the right person.
Well, buddy, listen, man, I don't mean to cut you short, but I think I think I've toasted my battery from well, no, I'll tell you what, I am going to get a webcam. Amesie's 12. Amesy turns 12 Tuesday, so it's webcam time. I'm
All
allowed a web
right.
now, so this won't be an issue next time. So
Hey, it's still fun, man. We'll do it again next
yeah,
time.
man.
We always have fun.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they should give me a few weeks. We might maybe we can squeeze one like a Christmas episode, man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, if we do that, you got to wear a Santa outfit.
Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas. I got you, man. I'll need to go ahead and call Mrs. Claus in the North Pole and start procuring some threads, my friend, and
And
I'll
just
let
so
this
you
grow out
know,
a little bit more.
yeah, let it grow out a little bit more. Just so you know, this is completely off topic. Alabama won.
Roll Tide, Roll Tide.
I know.
That's where I was. I went to a friend's earlier, and I was watching after the game, and they were like, "You're going to jinx us if you leave." I said, "No." I told
No,
her, "But
the
I was doing
Tide's
stuff
got it.
with him tonight. I have
Yeah.
to do this, or Alabama will lose. We're going to win if I leave." So the gods have smiled upon us. Roll Tide. The football gods are appeased. Well,
Oh
buddy,
man.
I will get my Santa hat, my coat, and we will reconvene, man. I'll keep my word. I'm on it.
All right.
All right.
Sounds good, brother. Love you.
I'll talk to you later, man. I love you.
All right. Bye.
Take care.